what will happen? So most of them they failed as usual, arrears. So they all failed. Then finally people said, Yudhishthira said, Arjuna, we are Kshatriyas basically. Whenever there is a competition, we should be proactive. That is what Stephen Covey also says. First habit in that 7 habits, he says, be proactive. So we have to be proactive. Tum jao. So Arjuna said, I am in the Vesha Bhusha of a Brahmana. That's okay, you go. To that Swayamvaram, which Drupada Maharaja was conducting for Draupadi Krishna, he had invited Krishna of Dwaraka and Balarama as the chief guests of honor. While most of the kings failed, Balarama told Krishna, he said, Krishna, यदि अर्जुन जीवित होता तो कितना अच्छा होता, आने दो. Because Arjuna, Krishna's father Vasudeva, Krishna was called Vasudeva, Vasudevasya Puman iti Vasudeva. Vasudeva had sisters. One sister was Pritha. Pritha was Kunti. So it was Attige's son. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅಲ್ವೇ ಅತ್ತಿಗೆ, ತೆಲುಗು ಭಾಷೆలో ఏంటి అది? అత్తే. తమిళ్లో అత్తే అప్ప, മലയാളത്തിൽ ഒരുമാതിരി ചൊല്ലിട്ടാൽ അത്തെ. ഒരുപാട് പഴനി. ഹിന്ദി में क्या है? बुआ. बुआ. So that you have got you don't know how to translate பண்ணிட்டு. So but trust me, till this moment what I am describing, Draupadi Swayamvaram, Krishna has not seen Arjuna. This is the first meeting point. They have heard about each other. There is no meeting point before this. So Balarama says, Kitna acha hota Arjun jeevit hota. That is when Krishna said, Bhaiya, udhar dekhiye, jo aa raha hai wohi Arjun hai. Don't joke Krishna. He said, see him without that jata and that beard. Yeah, this is Arjun, action king. Arjuno dhanushobhyashe tasthau giririvachalah tattad dhanu parikramya pradakshinam atha karot. What did Arjuna do? Vyasa says, first he did a pradakshinam around that bow. See, that is the sign of Arjuna. He had an etiquette, he had a class. He knew how to respect Dhanurvidya. For him that was important. So he went, did a pradakshinam around. Pranamya shirasa devam ishanam varadam prabhum krishnam cham manasa kritva. Look at that line. Vyasa's Mahabharatam is worth Kohinoor. Better, more than that. Krishnam cha manasa kritva. Arjuna had never seen Krishna till now. But he had immense love for Krishna. Krishna was one person. You don't have to see him. You will fall in love hearing about him. Shrutva gunan bhuvana sundara. Rukmani says, when people ask, Rukmani, how did you like Krishna? I have never seen him. Then how did you fall in love? Kete kadan. Rukmani told, Krishna, I fell in love just listening about you. Krishna said, hey Rukmani, I am a liar. I steal. How did you fall in love with a person? I don't have any gunam. Rukmani said, you are very weak in Sanskritam, Krishna. Shrutva agunan bhuvana. Agunam. Listening to your dosham itself, I fell in love. உனக்கு சுரேஷ் பிடிச்சிருக்கா? எப்படி சிகரெட் ஊதுறா? Shrutva agunan bhuvana sundara shringvadante. That is why Dhanush says, patta pudikadu, pakka pakka pudikadu. Krishnam cha manasa kritva jagrihe charjuno dhanuhu. He did a pradakshinam and said, Krishna, I pray to you, and lifted that bow. When he lifted, see, every shloka of Vyasa Bharatam is beautiful. When he lifted, Vyasa says, when he lifted itself, Drupada knew that he will be able to marry my daughter. Another style. Chennai, the policeman stands with a gun. We'll surely know he won't know how to shoot. So, you have to, when you sit itself, when you present, suppose you're a musician, when you do that initial, that itself should establish this man is going to give a wonderful concert. See, the confidence with which you sit, the way you look at people's eyes, you should not let even single person yawn. So, when Arjuna lifted that bow, Drupada said, Draupadi, tayar ho jao. He shot one arrow, one shot. Immediately that he had loads of practice. He had done a lot of practice papers. So easy, tough. And then Drupada said, take my daughter. Now begins Draupadi's problems. She's just 3 days old from her birth. Now you see her problem. She now goes to the ashrama. Kunti was cooking. She was making some quinoa. High protein. So, Arjuna should have literally said, I am married. It was not new in those days. Kshatriyas, whenever they knock at the door, some new daughter-in-law will be there. So he could have said, this is Draupadi, meet Draupadi. This is my mother, meet Kunti. Abhi haath mila lo, hi bolo. And all he could have said. You know what he said? I bought a bhogya vastu. I brought something in Bhiksha today. She was a social media person. She used to say share. So, she said share. They were petrified. How will they share? Right hand, left hand. Yeah. She turned, she was surprised. She said, Arjuna, what kind of a brought up have I given? Do you call a living human being a bhogya vastu? He said, just like that I said. You should have never said, ye kaun hai? Draupadi, ajao beti. And she hugged and everything. Now comes our rule master. Yudhishthira, he said, if our indicator he said, as per Article 54F 34B, Second Amendment, we cannot disrespect mother's words. All 5 of us have to marry Draupadi. In set theory, it is called many to one function. How will I marry all the 5? What will she even sign? Is it Draupadi, Yudhishthira, Draupadi? Governments in Tamil Nadu, they'll give 1,000 rupees per woman. Lots of problems. When this technical problem came, they were all confused. Draupadi said, I was just born 3 days back. So my problems have begun now. How will I marry? That is the first time Krishna of Dwaraka enters the scene. He says, he comes, everybody, Kunti says, I'm so happy to see you, Krishna, after so many years. The cousins meet. Now they say, Krishna, you give us a solution. Generally, you will create the problems. But here you give us a solution for a change. That is when Krishna says, see, there was a lady called Pramlochana. That is there in Bhagavatam, that story. I won't get into it. Prachetasa Putras, 10 of them married one woman. Her name was Padmalochana. Pramlochana, Padmalochana says Vishnu Purana. There was another person called Jatila who married 7 rishis. So Krishna gives these precedences. He says, there was one lady who married 10. One lady who married 7. Draupadi, you are better, you are marrying only 5. 5 is a subset of 10, marry them. But Yudhishthira asked, though we agree to marry, the mantram says that, see, as per Shastram, the mantra in every marriage says that the girl who is the bride has to marry Gandharva, then Agni, then Soma, and then finally the groom of the day, Suresho, Kottisho, Ramesho, so she has to marry. But here there are 5. That is when Krishna suggests, let Draupadi be born 5 times. Since she has come from fire, fire will do no harm to her. Let her marry Yudhishthira in the presence of fire, get into fire, come back again as Draupadi version 2.0. Let her marry Bhima and then go. So Krishna gives this idea. Finally, she marries 5. As this doubt is cleared, Kunti blesses. See, every aspect of our Itihasa has to be studied in detail. Abridged versions will not give us that knowledge. Kunti blesses. Yathendrani harihaye swaha chaiva vibhavaso rohini cha yatha some damayanti yatha nale yatha vaishravane bhadra vasishthe chapyarundhati yatha narayane lakshmi tatha tvam bhavabhartushu. She says, like how Sati was to Satyavan, Savitri was to Satyavan, Nala was to Damayanti, Sukanya was to Chyavana, Rohini to Chandra, Lopamudra to Agastya. Like how Narayana is to Lakshmi, you will be, my dear Draupadi. Then she continues, I faced a lot of problems in my life. Kunti says, because Kunti was born as Pritha. She was given in adoption to a king. So she has to accept the new man as her father. By the time she got adjusted, she had to serve Durvasa. Durvasa gave her a mantra, she tried it, she got one son. Then she had to abandon that son in the waters of the Ganga. Then while she was married to Pandu, in a week or so from the marriage, he brought another co-wife called as Madri. By the time they wanted to produce children, she realized that she cannot have children through Pandu, and then she invoked the Devas. By the time the children were born, Pandu was dead. By the time she raised her children and she took them to the Lakshagraham was burning. From there so every stage she says, I am met with a volley of impediments, problems. So my dear Draupadi, I bless you. Whatever problems I have faced in my life, none of it should be repeated in yours. See, look at the maturity of a woman who spoke. We watch soaps, serials, right? All the directors should read Mahabharata first. What maturity she had as a mother-in-law. She said, whatever problems I faced, you should not face it. Now, patta kashtathe niyum padu. Did I have Instapot? Arrayam puttu. Yatha narayane lakshmi tatha tvam bhavabhartushu. Through the fight, there was a memorandum of understanding signed in the presence of Narada. For 1 year, one person will be the husband. That is one big agreement in Mahabharata. If Yudhishthira is the husband for 1 year, the other 4 should not disturb. Upasunda Upakhyanam. See, Mahabharatam is the Sagaram, 1,25,000 shlokas. Layers and layers and layers of knowledge is there. Until about 40 years back in Kanchipuram, there was a Shri Vaishnava Swami who had memorized the 1,25,000 shlokas. Memorized. 1,25,000. If you tell him the shloka, he'll tell you which parva. If you ask him for the shloka, he'll tell you. Memory was is such an integral element to Sanatana Dharma. That is why, despite Bakhtiyar Khilji burning Nalanda University, Takshashila University, Vikramashila University, knowledge is sustained. When all the manuscripts were burnt, how will the knowledge come? Because people remembered. Even if the manuscripts are gone, so be it. I will remember. Memory is very important. Please make this a point. We have lost the art of remembering. We are coaxed to not remember. Phone number you don't have to remember. Alarm you don't have to remember. See, when there was no alarm, how were people getting up? Because your subconscious mind, if you tell, wake me up at 4, it will. Our mind is so powerful. But we don't trust our mind, we trust the gadget. So alarm was here. Calculation was here. The person would have not even understood what differential calculus is, what is I-late, inverse, logarithmic, algebraic, trigonometric, exponential. But the vegetable vendor can divide the number 17 by 4 and tell you how much you have to pay for 7 vegetables in a vegetable shop. You go to a vegetable shop in a village. You buy 11 vegetables. Each one different quantity, different prices. He will tell you how much you have to pay. we would have done, differential calculus, double integral, 17 by 4. Just a second, 17 by 4. Calculation we have outsourced. Remembrance we have outsourced. Phone numbers. Tell me 10 phone numbers that you know. We don't know. Because that remembers. Our yantram remembers. Mailbox. There will be 7 mails. So there's a password manager for that. In that password manager, there will be one. What was your first pet's name? Security question. Mama peru kuttuka. So for that, we will have a volley of questions. You don't have to remember shlokas as well. How do you recite Vishnu Sahasranamam? It's there in my phone. Alarm, phone. Calendar, phone. Mail, phone. Which will go to moksham? Phone. Phone moksha. Because our only Chetana Vastu can go to moksham. Knowledge bearing only can go. Knowledge is in the phone. Phone will go to moksha. We will all be seated. Achita Visishtan Pralaye Jantun Avarokya Jada Nirveda Karana Kalebara Yogam Idarasi Vishashairanatha Karunetu. We'll be watching. No, the point I'm trying to make is, please do not leave certain art forms, which is remembrance. If you are a musician, you should know at least 1,000 kritis by heart. If you're a chemistry student, you should know the Mendeleev's periodic table just at the look. You should know what is the atomic number, atomic weight, lanthanides, actinides. You should not forget. That is why some Mahanubhava came with the semester pattern. If you write all your courses, then you can forget and go to the next semester. Are you an engineer? Sure. So, Yatha Narayane Lakshmi. In Sunda Upakhyanam, the memorandum is made that for 1 year, one person will be the husband. Once what happened, Arjuna, he was asked for a help by a Brahmana because he had lost his cows. His Gandhivam was in Yudhishthira's chamber. For that year, Yudhishthira was the Pati. So he barged into Yudhishthira's chamber, lifted that Gandhivam, helped that Brahmana. But he said, I made a grave mistake by coming into your chamber. As per the understanding, I should not come. I should do a prayashchitta. Yudhishthira said, you are my younger brother. You are like my son. It's okay. But Arjuna said, no, a promise made is a promise made. I will do prayashchittam. And he went on a tirtha yatra. And as he went on a tirtha yatra for the prayashchittam, wherever he went, he married. Chitrangada, Mullupi, and then finally he landed in Dwaraka. He married Krishna's sister, Subhadra. Because Subhadra was actually engaged to Duryodhana. Remember, Duryodhana's daughter was married to Krishna's son. Duryodhana's daughter Lakshmana was Krishna's son Shambha's wife. So they were sambandhis. Now Duryodhana wanted to marry Krishna's sister. So he had to marry. Now, Krishna did not want this alliance to happen, but his brother Balarama won't listen. So what he did was, he asked Arjuna to finish his Tirtha Yatra in Dwaraka. He said, my dear Arjuna, you come as Arjuna Nanda. Beard, don't buy an island, but you just come. So you come. And he said, Subhadra, idhar aa jao. Any Gujarati speaking Astikas here? Next time I will learn and come. But I know only all the Gujarati dishes. Fafda, Khandvi, Thepla, Chunda, Undiyo. Very interesting dishes. So now Krishna said, serve all this to Swamiji. So it's called Subhadra Harana Champu. Read that Kavyam, very beautiful. So Subhadra was serving Arjuna. She served some kadi. Dwaraka. So kadi, Undiyo. So she said, Swamiji, eat. Arjuna said, the sweet is also good, the hands are also good. ये क्या है कलयुग स्वामी जी, क्या कर रहे हैं आप ऐसे नहीं कर सकते. That is when Krishna came and she asked, भैया देखो, ये स्वामी जी ऐसा बोल रहे हैं. She said, this is not Arjuna or Nanda, this is Arjun. She wanted to marry Arjun. So it was a beauty. Now the problem was Balarama was the impediment. So Krishna said, Subhadra, you kidnap Arjuna. So Subhadra rode the chariot and Krishna said, Arjuna, you have to say, Bachao, 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 Bachao. So Subhadra and Arjuna went away. On the other hand, when Pandavas had arrived in Hastinapuram, Duryodhana cried now. See, 37 minutes back I told you there was a prayer meeting held. So, they all cried, oh, Pandavas are dead. But now Pandavas are alive. Now they started crying. See, that is true for us as well. Imagine very close person in your family is dead. You're doing all Antima Samskaram, crematorium, all the work is done. 3 lakhs amount spent to do the 13 days of rituals. After you settle down in your house, that person comes knocking. So now Pandavas arrived. That is when Bhishma said, let us not have any more family fights. Let us give one portion of the land to them. One portion of the land, which was a very futile land, waste land, infested with thorns and snakes, was called Khandava Prastham. Current day Delhi plus Western Uttar Pradesh. That is called Khandavam. So Khandavam was given. Pandavas were very upset. Krishna said, don't worry. Whatever you get in your life, make the best use of it. Don't keep cribbing. He took Arjuna, burnt the entire forest. This burning of the forest, what all were burnt itself, I have spoken for 2 days in one place. Khandavavana Dahanam. It's a very important part in Adi Parva. So the forest was burnt. Then Indra was invited. Indra said, I will arrange an architect and construct a state-of-the-art capital city. But he was a politician. He said, the capital should be named after me. So Khandava Prastham became Indra Prastham. For this particular housewarming, Grihava Pravesham, a Rajasuya Yajnam was conducted. For that, Yudhishthira had arrived. Yudhishthira had invited all of them. Dhritarashtra said, no, I am not coming. I just had my full body test today. Doctor said, don't go. Your lipid profile is still pending. Don't. So some of them did not come. Duryodhana, Dushyasana, Karna, Shakuni, they all came. Shishupala came. So it was a grand ceremony. Shishupala was killed in that ceremony. And towards the end of it, Duryodhana was walking. He thought the floor, a lake to be the floor. And he fell into the waters. Then what happened? He fell. Then Draupadi laughed. Remember, in Mahabharatam, there is no shloka which says Draupadi laughed. This was a scam, manipulation that this man had done. Duryodhana, you know what he does? The moment he falls, a Sairandrika Stri laughs. Some lady there. He takes this as a humiliation because he was already extremely envious of their success and prosperity. He wanted to avenge that, so he goes and tells his father. His father is a doctorate in envy. So he tells his father that I was humiliated. The father didn't listen. That is when, to coax him to believing, he says, Drupada Nandini also laughed. Draupadi also laughed. This was to convince his father. So then, that is very bad. How can Draupadi laugh? That is when he says, Papa, you just have to give me permission to call them for gambling. That is when Vidura says, don't do this. Family fights should not take you to all these gambling games. Don't do it. But who will listen to Vidura? Nobody listened. That is when they were called. Yudhishthira was invited. So it was a rule in those days, if a Kshatriya is called for a war or a game, you don't deny. No, I'm very tired. I don't want to do it now. Let's do it later. Later, years to come. So they all started to Hastinapuram. As they were started to Hastinapuram, the day they arrived, Draupadi's menstruation had begun. She had started menstruating. Ekavastra Rajaswala. So she went into a chamber and she excused herself and she wanted to take rest. In the Sabha, Duryodhana had planned every bit of detail. He did not let his mother come. He said, Mother, you do it. Cool, but I do. So, this was happening on one side. Rules were laid that whoever pawns, they have to pawn, and if the other person wins, whatever the opposite person has pawned will belong to them. You have to put it in stake. That is when Bhishma too agreed upon that rule, but he said, why play all this? But being a bad administrator, Dhritarashtra let it happen. As the game began, who played by the side of Pandavas? Yudhishthira. Who should have played on the side of the Kauravas? Duryodhana. But you know what Duryodhana did? He said, I will let my uncle play. Let Shakuni play. If Yudhishthira had been smart, he should have said, if your uncle is playing, let my uncle's son Krishna come and play. If Krishna had played, we would have not got Bhagavad Gita, no Mahabharata Yuddham. They would have won. But Krishna was in Dwaraka. There was a siege in Dwaraka by Shalva. He had sieged Dwaraka and Krishna had to defend his territory. So he was not there in Hastinapuram, in Haryana region. Meanwhile, the game began. We have 60 shlokas describing what all was pawned. First, a pearl chain was pawned. Yudhishthira lost. Jars of gold, he lost. Ratham, he lost. 1,000 Sairandrika Stris, people who would serve in your houses, help, they were lost. Jewelry was lost. Skilled people were lost. 1,000 serving men were lost. 1,000 elephants were lost. 1,000 horses were lost. Chitraratha's gifts were lost. 10,000 vehicles, 400 nidhis, 5 dronas of gold, goats, city, land. They lost entire Indraprastha. When nothing was left, they said, we leave. That is when he said, see, you have your brothers. You call yourself as a rich person because you have such skilled brothers. Then pawn your brother, Nakula. Shamo yuva lohitakshaha simhaskandho mahabhujaha nakulo glahayayveko vidvenyan mama tadhanam. So Nakula was pawned. He was lost. Then he became a slave to the Kauravas. Sahadeva was lost. Arjuna was lost. When Arjuna was pawned and lost, the entire Sabha clapped. Because imagine, you're asking Arjuna, sweep the floor. In your house, if Arjuna is going to sweep, it will be such a big... Arjuna was lost. Bhima was lost. Yudhishthira pawned himself finally and he lost himself. It should have stopped there. That is when Shakuni says, you think you have lost everything? Yes, Shakuni, you have lost everything. You have the doe-eyed woman of your house called as Panchali. Pawn her as well. Shakuni says, Ekavastra tvadhonivi rodamana rajaswala. Even if she's menstruating and she's bleeding, it doesn't matter. Sabhama gamya Panchali. Let her be pawned. She was pawned and she was also lost. That is when Duryodhana says, send her, bring her to the Sabha Mandapam right now, Pratikramin. Pratikramin goes and he says, Maharagni, I'm standing outside your Shuddhatma Antahpuram Mate, you're called there. So she said, I cannot come, but tell me what is the situation. As he explains, she asks, did Yudhishthira pawn himself first, lose and then pawn me? Because if he has lost himself, he is a slave. A slave doesn't own anything. Then how can he pawn me? If he pawned me first, then I should have come first there. Then why did he pawn himself later? So this Pratikramin said, I will go ask him and come. He went to the Sabha and said, Yudhishthira, these are the questions posed by him. That is when Duryodhana slaps Pratikramin and says, she is a slave woman. That lady has the audacity to ask, and you come parrot those lines and words to me? Bring that woman, Dushasana, pull her by her hair and bring her here. Dushasana runs. He goes inside the Antahpuram, catches her by her hair, pulls her down to the floor. 4 shlokas. Blood was strewn. She was dragged to the court. As she was pulled into the court, Karna stands. Karna says, how does it matter if this woman with one piece of cloth has her cloth on her or if she is taken off? Vivastrata. Let that piece of cloth be taken. Who says? Karna. We say, right, Karna, Danveer, Shurveer, Karan coffee show karte hain. Kuch nahi karte hain idhar. He was the one who gave that idea. So, if you are trying to idealize Karna, do it, but do not say that you have learnt it from Mahabharatam. Vyasa Bharatam doesn't give Karna that scope to be one hero out of that blue. He's just a scarlet. He is not made a hero by Vyasa. In Vyasa Bharatam, Karna is a jealous person. Not more than that. Danveer, Shurveer and all the directors, let them give. He was the one who said Vivastrata. Vivastrata. How does it matter if the cloth is on her body or it is taken away? 5 of them, they kept quiet. That is when Draupadi runs to Bhishma and says, Bhishmacharya, you are the son of Ganga Devi. Purity is Ganga. You have learned so many Shastras from Parashurama and Bharadwaja. Don't you know that when a woman is being ridiculed and humiliated as a Kshatriya, you should come for her defense? Bhishma said, you have a point, Draupadi, but I cannot question him because when you say that you are not to be treated as a possession, I am a bit confused whether the wife is a possession or not. When she asks for help, Bhishma denies. That is why, despite being such a great Bhakta, Krishna ensures he stays on the bed of arrows till the blood that is given by Duryodhana is drained out. She goes, asks Drona, Drona, you and my father were such good friends. Am I not like Ashwathama to you, a daughter? When your daughter suffers, should you wait for that daughter to ask for help? Shouldn't you volunteer and thrash these men away? Drona put his